wrong, what makes sense and not. So, and Anna, at the same time, hold on.
Where's the disagreement? No, you hold on. Where is the disagreement, though? Seriously, because if I shared any.
Also, you both looked so unhappy doing this all the time. Like, I've seen so many of these clips now where it's just the two of them yelling and then Anna just losing her shit. What you're witnessing in real time with the whole Cenk and Anna thing, this is what we could call something like the TyT Greenwald Paradox. All right, this because it's not obeying the Cedar Goodman principle.
Anna, look, new members come in all the time.
Like I said, exclusively obtained this TyT meltdown. They tried to hide it from all you guys.
Shout out to the Vanguard boys. I believe they're called Silly and Billy.
Because of DEI, so you automatically blame black and brown people. Where was your outrage at that racism? I think it was in the story. I said that he shouldn't.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
No, it's okay, Anna. It's okay. Sometimes, look. No,
I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything else we said in the segment doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like people are just gonna hear what they want to hear. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
What? Why is she still doing this? Why are you getting so visibly upset at the mildest pushback of straight racist shit? Like, there's still some, I'm sure, people who are like, my heart is broken into 1,000 pieces. How does TyT keep hurting me? The home of progressives. But then they're like, come on, you guys. Bare fucking minimum. When there is a white pilot that smashes into another white pilot, they killed a bunch of people. And then it happens to do with the FAA regulations and deregulations and then, you know, the head of the administration getting fired and them trying to remove the entire council. And like, that was all a bunch of white people's decisions. They're blaming black folk for that. You gotta, the bare minimum push back against that. If you can't even do that, you are lost. You are so lost. And then I feel like I'm losing my mind. Oh my God. Oh my God. Again. How could you?
Go ahead.
Hold on.
I'm losing my fucking mind.
I know.
Let me do a thing here. And guys, everybody else that wrote in, I love you, and I wish I had time to read it because it was so important and interesting. But let me use the time here to say something else. I talked to my sister the other day, and she had talked to some of her friends that are non-political, totally non-political, okay? And
very credible source.
But they watch MSNBC, and they watch cable news, they watch mainstream media. They don't go online at all, okay? And they're also scared to death. They think that Trump is gonna come and round up Democrats in New Jersey and put them into camps. Like, bruh. And what I underestimate.
Bruh. One, my first beef with that, before he even got into the first, like, who doesn't use the internet? Oh, so your sister's friends who are
That's so true. Fucking boomer ass shit. Look, guys, I gotta say, you know, I effectively I have some friends, and one of them they wanted to, you know, check their emails, so they went on to Alta Vista. They did a Yahoo search for email. They went in, they saw a thread, some basic you know, daily offers to become the Prince of Nigeria, you know, and then increase the size of the penis, all that kind of stuff. And then when they got to the bottom, they found a link to a Facebook group where they did their own research, and they're terrified. They're scared right now, you know? Yeah, Jeeves told me they had a Quora.
What, 55-year-old women? So how old are you if you're 55? You were born in 1970. Do you really think there are people walking around this earth that were born in 1970 that don't know how to use the internet? These are people who were 30 in the year 2000. Okay, it might not be their primary news source, but to act like these people, they're never online. They don't even know what a cell phone is. These people, they don't even know what's a home computer. Do I still have to dial up? This is not a real, you know, anecdote. This seems totally fabricated to me on the surface already.
Was how much people believed, whether it's shows online or MSNBC. Because MSNBC is talking about, the camps, and Trump's gonna kill us all, and etc. Right? So it doesn't mean you shouldn't be concerned about the things Trump is actually doing. As we're telling you, you know, Gitmo's a bad idea. You know, the birthright citizens.
What's Gitmo, Cenk? Oh, a camp where 30,000 motherfuckers are gonna go?
It was nonsense. On and on.
Honestly, the thing that like is the only good parts of like the previous Trump administration of this one, and I'm seeing less of it this year though, is that you finally see liberals grow a spine when it comes to some crimes and atrocities because it's being done by Republicans. So suddenly you'll see people come forward, and MSNBC and Rachel Maddow will talk about it's actually a bad thing that we do large deportations of people who came over here legally, immigrants who arrived here legally, who had working visas and whose visas have expired. That is what illegal immigrants are in the United States. The overwhelming majority of illegal immigrants were legal workers who came to the United States to work to work on the American dream like anyone else, whose visas have expired, and for one reason or another, whether they love where they live, they've established a family there, they might even have children who are American citizens, they don't want to leave the country, so they're trying to do whatever they can in their power to stay inside the United States. Those are illegal immigrants. That's the overwhelming majority of illegal immigrants, and both Democrats and Republicans scapegoat and target them because, again, they are people without a lot of power. By scapegoating and targeting them, you effectively go for a group of people that can easily be kicked out of the country, that can be rounded up, that you can have a justifiable police force. Like in other conditions, if you saw, police just walking into a building and taking doctors and nurses and then bagging and tagging them and throwing them into the back of trucks and tasering them and beating the fuck out of them on the street and calling them pedophiles, and Dr. Phil shows up at the hospital like, what do we got here? Another pedophile. Like all that shit, you get real upset and mad, and you'd be like, holy shit, this is some fucked up dystopian fascist dictatorship. I'm going to go stop this. But when it's immigrants, when they can be, oh, look, it's the scary brown guy, it's the scary black guy, it's the scary Mexican looking fella. Ah, they're saying things out loud that sound kind of scary. That black guy was saying that he thinks that, he wants to protect his family and stuff, and he's going to start some kind of a violent action and blah. Like all that stuff. Oh, suddenly it's just like, well, yeah, you can even have people like Cenk who justified this shit. Cenk was tweeting out like, while some of the rounding up may be egregious, I have to say that, like, some of these people do have criminal records, and I want to pull up the exact quote, okay? I don't want to do the Cenk thing and put words in his own mouth, because that's what he always says that I do. Oh, Lance of the Serfs, I'm so pure. All right, well, excuse me, I'm going to be accurate in my reporting, okay? I'm going to be fair and balanced. I just have to scroll through a lot of Cenk comments to find it.
And on, right?
And on.
But part of what it's causing is this like emotional and psychological trauma to Democrats across the country, the entire left-wing spectrum, right? Because they're like the media has convinced them that they're about to get rounded up. Don't do that. Fight the things that are real, but don't get yourself in like this stress ball thinking that he's gonna round you up any second.
Bro, it's crazy because he literally is trying to expand the definition of the people that he can round up. He's trying to shrink the definition of who is actually a legitimate, right? Legal American. All of it sounds like fucking crazy to say out loud. But basically, he's trying to roll back birthright citizens. He's trying to roll back visas for people who are.
And honestly, if you are wanting to be a collaborator or a useful idiot or just downplay its severity, well, yes, historically, that's what a lot of liberals, centrists did during the rise of Nazism and during the rise of fascism, was to try and downplay the severity and expansionism aspects of it, and honestly start to look at it from the perspective of, at this time, they're really only going after the gays and the Jews. So there's not much to say here. I mean, like, yes, maybe it's horrible that they are getting scapegoated in society, and it's horrible that they are basically being blamed for a lot of the problems of things they themselves did not cause in any way, shape, or form. No, they did not collapse the economy. No, they did not collapse the banking system. No, that is 100% an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But ultimately, I mean, like, hey, if you think they're going to come after everyone, if they're going to start rounding up everybody, you're delusional, all right? Honestly, it's so tired to hear this shit. Well, it seems like right away the Trump administration is directly targeting trans people and immigrants. Again, two vulnerable communities, two communities that they could go after and specifically not worry about too much pushback, right? In this case, I mean, how many trans people are there in America? 1 to 1.7%. So the vast majority of the country is cis, probably not going to get too much pushback. When it comes to immigrants, sure, there's going to be some people who get very emotionally torn apart by seeing mothers literally crying as their daughters are ripped out of their arms. It's just not, it's not a great scene, and it doesn't make anyone happy. I get that. But ultimately, we can try and push the narrative that the majority of them are criminals, right? If they're all criminals, then it's totally justified.
Are already here legally, those people will then be deported. Those people have every right to be worried about what's going to happen to them, where they're going to go. Imagine if you were born here, you're worried about both of your parents being deported because they weren't born here. Where are you going to go? You speak English. Your Spanish is okay. You've never been to El Salvador or wherever the hell they're talking about threatening to send you and your family back to. You don't know how you're going to make a living there. You don't know if you're going to starve. You don't know if your family's going to be in immediate jeopardy, right? You telling those people that they shouldn't be afraid is crazy. Okay, it's far crazier than the people who are actually very nervous.
Yeah, specifically because Cenk himself correctly identified Trump as a Hitlerian figure and correctly identified MAGA as a Hitlerian movement like 8 months ago when he was running for president. So when he wanted to make it a campaign talking point that my opposition is Hitlerian, he was all for it. He was completely down to scream that at the top of his lungs on any podcast that would have him. Now, for whatever reason, he wants to make you feel like you're an idiot and gaslight you for having similar concerns.
Guys, if
I don't know if I belong here anymore. Like, I'm going to just keep it real, Cenk. I don't know if I belong anymore. I don't. Because people want propaganda. They do. They want propaganda.
But our
and
audience
I don't want to do propaganda.
Look at 90%.
That shit is so sad. How could she sit? All she does now is spew propaganda. She spews lies that are so demonstrably false. You could, like, god damn it. The stuff that is on Twitter right now, people on all sides of the political spectrum are clowning on her. Like, consistently, it's like, that's just not true. This statement is falsifiable. That never happened. We're gonna get to one of the wildest doozies she's ever told, by the way, that's on Twitter right now. But then to act there like this, like, I'm the victim. We're the victims. I can't do it. People apparently just want to be manipulated with truth speak, double think, 2 + 2 = 5. And I can't, I'm sorry. I'm just such a truth sayer that I cannot do the propaganda. I cannot do it. I am not Big Brother. I'm just not ready to 1984 my own audience because I'm the only person here willing to tell the truth and they're willing to lie to you.
The comments saying, attaboy, we love that you're doing honesty, we like the nuance, etc. That's why if you're a member right now, and remember, the folks who didn't like that already-
Oh, you're still using this as a plug? Man, shameless. There's some moments where I'm definitely not like, yeah, this seems like a good entry point to start promoting some of my brand and/or products.
left. Okay, like-
Did they?
No, they did, Anna. Look, new members come in all the time.
I'm sorry, people will be angry and call this maybe misogynistic coded. I don't mean it in that way. I mean it in like a paternal daughter kind of a way. Doesn't it seem like he's talking down a 12-year-old that's like had enough with the day? It's like, my life's gonna be over. I didn't make the soccer team. Like, nobody's ever gonna want to be my friend again.
So check this out. Cenk, I'm opposed to sending them to Gitmo and for them to pick up anyone who hasn't been convicted of a crime because stuffing people into Gitmo based on accusations is terrible. I don't want this, but our side is talking about Chinese gulags isn't going to help us win the argument. Anyone who hasn't been convicted of a crime. ICE makes close to 1,200 arrests in one day. Nearly half of those detained do not have any criminal records, according to a senior Trump administration official. So where's the pushback there? Again, if you want the facts, if you want the information, there it is. There's the truth. I by the way, like most people replied to him. The reply did numbers. I know he saw it. In some cases, some of the replies from other people have ratioed him with the very same thing. And as soon as you're like, here's the literal facts that contradict the nonsense you're saying, silence. All of a sudden it gets to the crickets mode. Like his fight that he's having right now with David Dole online, that shit, it's basically like, yeah, the left basically wants to say that crime doesn't exist. And it's like, David goes, tell me a single leftist, anyone, who has ever made that statement. The statement's so ludicrous that you yourself, when you make it, I know you don't believe it when you say it out loud, right? That there's not a single, like, Sam Cedar, Majority Report, Emma Vigeland, Democracy Now, Amy Poehler, Hassanabi, any single host you name, have any of them ever said crime is not real, as in it doesn't exist, as in there's no such thing? When I see a headline where it's like someone was just hurt or stabbed or punched, that never happened. No, 'tis but a figment of your imagination. These things don't exist in the real world. Not in my world. I live in the world of lollipops and gumdrops and like fucking fairy tales.
And everybody hates me and my life is miserable. And then it's the dad that has to be reassured and be like, no, honey, you have plenty of friends. Your family loves you. You could play soccer for the joy of playing soccer. You know what I mean? It literally sounds like a father talking to his distressed child.
Oh, yeah. And if you're an adult talking to a fellow adult in this tone of voice, there's a good chance you're dealing with someone who's just not stable. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you guys can relate if you ever found yourself at a point in time where you're literally trying to like talk someone from the tree or whatever. And you're like, hey, like, I know that you're in the middle of something right now, but you need to calm. Like, yeah, that person's probably not 100% stable. They probably are spiraling a little bit. And that's exactly what Cenk is having to do here, not only to his friend, but in public, in front of an audience of thousands of people. So it's extra humiliating and insane.
Yeah.
And there's some folks who still object or who are still worried, etc., but they're still here. And we've been attacked 2,000 times. And recently we had about 1,000 of the 2,000 happen all at once and all from our own side. And they're still here, right? So I love those guys. I love all of you out there who had enough.
I can't believe, like, no matter how much everyone keeps screaming, they're like, Jesus Christ, please, for the love of fuck. If you're gonna do what you're gonna do, which is gross, by the way, but at least wear it like a badge of honor. Can you do it with pride? Can you be like, hey, we are intentionally just basically doing propaganda for the right wing, and we're doing so under the veneer of being on the left to like justify all of the horrifying and terrible things that they're saying and doing right now. Yes, it directly gives them the ability to act as if they're correct in the matter. For them to come forward and suddenly be like, yeah, I mean, like, it's not just right-wingers who are agreeing with us, it's the home of progressives. Thank you very much to Polymarket Studios.
Faith to stay here, even if sometimes you question us, even if you don't even agree with us on this, but at least you're open-minded enough and patient enough to hear us out, to see who's right, who's wrong, what makes sense and not. So, and Anna, at the same time, hold on.
Where's the disagreement? No, you hold on. Where is the disagreement, though? Seriously, because if I shared any.
Also, you both looked so unhappy doing this all the time. Like, I've seen so many of these clips now where it's just the two of them yelling and then Anna just losing her shit. I'm losing my mind. I can't believe this. I can't believe someone would say it's bad to be racist. What the fuck? Who would say that? And Cenk's like, okay, all right. You know what? We fight a lot, but we gotta say thank you so much to all of you who are on board with us, our project. You understand what it means to have nuance. You wanna see people who wanna have a beer with other people. That's what this is all about, right? You don't care about politics, you don't care about elections, you don't care about dictatorships, you don't care about Nazis, you don't care about fascism. All you care about is having a nice cold beer with your friends. And that's what we're here to offer. Guys, that's what TyT is all about. I'm losing my mind! Oh my God!
Anything that was inaccurate, then I want to correct that inaccurate reporting. The problem that, like, and by the way, it's obviously not everyone in the audience. I'm specifically referring to the critics. The criticism is that I had the audacity to even fact check Donald Trump on his claims about the hiring practices, previously for air traffic controllers. I'm not supposed to mention that, right? Like, because that would go against the kind of propaganda that people are expecting.
Like, what fact check? All you do, they've got this little trick that they think is subtle, but they're so bad at it. Honestly, I mean, okay, let's be real. What you're witnessing in real time with the whole Cenk and Anna thing, this is what we could call something like the TyT Greenwald Paradox. All right, this because it's not obeying the Cedar Goodman principle. Effectively, what they're trying to do is be these useful assets to the right and the far right by coming onto the table and being like, hey guys, by the way, I know that as of 6 months ago, I used to call Trump a fascist. I used to say that he was Hitlerian. I used to say that he quoted Mein Kampf. I was saying that he was a dictator in waiting, that everything had to be done to stop him, because if he came to power, he was going to start doing some fascistic shit. And then I even ran as president, accepted, thousands of dollars of my own fans' money to do a presidential campaign, which was a break-in case of emergency, smash the glass, because Trump is Hitler. I was saying that. I was clear. I was concise. I was saying it over and over and over. Now I realize that I like Hitler. I want to be friends with Hitler. And so I kind of want to come to the other side. But I know it's tricky. What with us being the home of progressives to suddenly be the home of MAGA. So why don't we position ourselves in a different way? We can say that we used to be the home of progressives, but now we're Polymarket Studio presents the home of progressives. TYT, Friends of MAGA, let's have a cold beer, the Power Hour. That's what we'll call the new thing. So that's what we bring to the table. Now, when Matt Taibbi or Glenn Greenwald do this shit, they're actually good at it. Well, actually, at first. Matt Taibbi's terrible at it eventually, but at first, and Glenn Greenwald is still capable of pulling this grift off over and over and over again, because effectively, he comes to the table with some bona fides. If all of a sudden you got Glenn Greenwald coming up and it's like, hey, by the way, I am a very well-respected, or at least I used to be, a career-long journalist. I have done a lot of breaking stories. I have oftentimes questioned the power of the U.S. empire. I have won numerous awards, including second tier, or at least being part of a team that has won a Pulitzer, part of a team that has won an Academy Award. I have a veneer of credibility that I used to anyway, but I had that, and that's what I bring to the table here as Glenn Greenwald. Bring me on your show, Tucker Carlson. I love you so much, kind of stuff. Alex Jones is actually not a conspiracy theorist. He's a person who questions the mainstream narrative, and he's actually against the globalists. That's what Glenn Greenwald does. That's what fucking Matt Taibbi did, and then wasn't allowed to anymore. But that's what he did for a little while. That's what Cenk and Anna are trying to do. But everyone fucking hates them. Like, everyone. So you got Laura Loomer, you got Matt Walsh. In both cases, they're like, nah, fuck these guys. They've been calling us Nazis and racists and transphobes and homophobes and every name under the sun for years and years and years, accurately, I might add. And now all of a sudden they want to come over here and pretend that they want to have a beer with us. We've been wanting to have a beer with them forever. They never said yes. They didn't accept our invitations. So fuck that. No, we won't let them in. Meanwhile, people on the left are like, this isn't a game, especially for a lot of the people that we advocate for, right? Like if you are someone who's going to be talking up about trans rights, it's not trans rights when it's safe to say trans rights, or trans rights when it's okay to do it and not worry about what the consequence. No, it's trans rights to human rights forever, always. That's kind of got to be the rule, right? Or hey, I'm going to speak up and actually not just join Black Lives Matter, the movement.tm, and put like an emote or a BLM thing in my name. I actually want to end unjust hierarchies, oppression. I actually want black people to have reparations. I actually want them to have justice for all the wrongs that have been committed against them throughout their history since they've been brought over unfairly to the United States as slaves, all that shit. Let's bring attention to that. It's not comma, ... but with a couple caveats and some extra shit, just a little asterisks at the end of that, because there are some terms and conditions. I gotta say, it's weird to have to use terms like birthing person. I find that offensive, and also it's difficult to speak to black people these days because I just don't know if I'm going to say the wrong thing and offend them, and what about all the anti-ethnic racism that happens towards white people? Have you heard of the ethnic slur asparagus? Yes, there was people who were using racial terms against Anna, calling her asparagus, which, if you didn't know, apparently is a ethnic slur towards Armenians.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
FAA hiring language was the same under Donald Trump's first term. So
Yes.
when she says, look at it, it actually does have some discriminatory things in here. Yeah, that was the same way under Donald Trump, and it didn't have all to do with why those planes crashed. Do you know why those planes crashed? They crashed because they were understaffed and the fucking towers did not have the proper people making sure that the planes don't fucking run into each other. Do you know why we have traffic controllers, Anna? Because there are no street signs in the sky. There are no stoplights. There are no roads. Okay, you have to have somebody that's like, hey, man, you can't fucking fly around here because we have incoming planes landing at this airport all the time. Okay, and when you say, I think we could cut some corners and save some cash if we had less guys in this air traffic control tower because not that many people use it, guess what? You're going to have planes that crash when they're private planes, just like the one we just saw last night in Philadelphia, because it was a private medical staff and a patient, and they all went down in fucking flames because guess what? Wasn't enough money in making sure that that was safe.
Yeah, 100%. Also, it's just crazy the level at which Anna is bitching and moaning about her job continually on an almost daily basis now at the Young Turks. Like, do I?
Well, also, like, why do you get so mad at people who are bringing up, like, legitimate concerns? Like, okay, so there's two groups in front of you. One of the groups is like, hey, by the way, we want to usher in a new age of fascist dictatorships hearkening to the original Nazis of Nazi Germany. And it's like, okay, what's the other side saying? That seems kind of frightening and scary. Those right now, those are the two sides. One side is getting worried. You might say that they're getting worried a little too much, or maybe they're being hyperbolic, or maybe you think that they're, you know, certainly trying to scream Nazi before it's actually happening. But that's very different than getting like visibly upset at that one group. Like just turning like, I can't believe I can't do this anymore. I can't take it. How would anyone in their right mind want to say and push back against the idea that this wasn't in fact DEI that was responsible for these plane crashes? I'm so mad. I'm so upset. And it's like, why are you getting so mad at that group? Why do you want to have a beer with Charlie Kirk rather than Sam Cedar? Even objectively, if it has nothing to do with the conversation, like you can understand that even if you loved Charlie Kirk and hated Sam Cedar, or whatever that case may be, that in one case, one is going to be infinitely closer to the overwhelming majority of your beliefs. That thing that they always talk about. You always hear them being like, we agree on like 90% of everything, so why are you coming after us? Okay, I do not agree with Charlie Kirk on 90% of everything. In fact, I find we probably disagree on most everything. I agree with a fuck ton more of what Sam Cedar says every single day, of what he espouses, of what Emma Vigeland talks about on her show every single day. I agree with them. I don't have to think, wow, if I listen to the Majority Report on a topic I haven't had any discussion about yet, are they going to say something dramatically out of sync with what they normally do, which is the right take on a lot of issues? No, I don't worry about that. And when I listen to them, I'm obviously like, oh yeah, that's exactly the way I feel about this topic. It's actually nice to feel validated in the echo chamber of my old podcast world. But I don't sit there thinking like, oh my god, I agree with like 90% of what Nick Fuentes is thinking. No, I don't agree with anything he's thinking. He's a fucking Nazi. Like,
I even belong here. All this critics into my audience. Like someone we talk about on the show is Crystal Ball, obviously, and her co-host Sagar and Jerry over at Breaking.
Fact, and then people catch feelings over the fact. It's if you're in the news business, that's enormously frustrating. So. And especially because we care so much about the truth, and we try, and nobody's got a monopoly on the truth, but we try so hard to get to it, right? So when people then say, well, I don't like that truth you're giving us. Yeah, that's super hard to deal with, right? But I think we gotta show.
This dude, the Dave Rubin thing, goddamn. Oh yeah, which is why I want to make sure that we get all the high level ideas. Yeah, and then the greatest ideas, I mean, we'll have to go into full defunk mode. Like, my mind is just overwhelmed with taking in so many high-level ideas. The best ideas will rise to the top, the cream. It'll float, you know? And then you'll be thankful that you listen to TyT, because they're the ones who give you the truth. They're at the forefront of all this. So it turns out they were kind of wrong. It turns out that Cenk, when debating Francesca Fiorentini, he happened to hear this comment.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound all right.
So this obviously did some numbers, went kind of viral, 16,000. These are numbers close to what like Cenk gets on the Everything app. So he got quite upset about this. Cenk jumps in. This is totally out of context horseshit. No, it's not. See, okay, there's a defense that people will say sometimes that people are clipped out of context and unfairly on the internet. That is true. That it does happen all the time. I know I have been the victim of it, all right? If I make fun of someone, I do a lot of characters, sketches, voices, right? If someone just clips me saying something while I'm impersonating someone else and then posts that, it sounds like I myself have those beliefs. So if I'm like, hey everyone, I'm about to do my Alex Jones, I'm a white supremacist. Then all of a sudden, if you just took that one little bit and you just posted it and it was just like, I'm a white supremacist, then everyone's gonna be like, whoa, hey look, it's Lance from the Serfs saying that he's a white supremacist. You saw him say that, it's in the clip. The clip is online. He said those words. Do you deny this is you, Lance? Yeah, but it's out of context. The context is that I'm impersonating a white supremacist. I hate white supremacists. I want to destroy white supremacy. That's my thing. I'm very vocal about it. No one really needs to get this all twisted, right? Like I say it all the fucking time. It's part of my fucking whole package here. And so like, yeah, that's out of context. This debate, and this part of the debate, was 100% him downplaying how bad things were going to be under Trump when she was very accurate. Fran was very accurately pointing out he has said a lot of the things he wants to do. He's been very vocal about them. I really worry that he's effectively going to try and round up what he considers to be illegals or illegal immigrants and put them into internment camps. Immediately, what did he do? He weaponized the entire branch of ICE to start rounding people up to make a big show out of it. Be like, oh yeah, look, Daddy Trump is back. He's cracking down on all these illegals. Look at him just ripping moms out of their daughters' arms. This is so fucking amazing. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's also announced that he's going to be deporting 30,000 immigrants and sending them to Guantanamo Bay, where they will effectively be tortured by American personnel, because that's what America do. America does do this, and it's unfortunate that the only time people speak out against this, liberals specifically, is when Republicans do it, because when Democrats do it, it's like, oh, well, the cages have now upgraded from metal to plastic. It's okay, the problem. Out of sight, out of mind. We don't talk about this. But this is not out of context horseshit. This is just you running cover for fucking fascism. In other parts of the interview, she was talking about gulags for Chinese Americans. When you say this is mass deportation camps, you're scaring the shit out of people who are undocumented and who haven't committed any crimes. Stick to facts. Half of the people, this is the facts, by the way, this is from the Trump administration. Half of the people who have been rounded up have no documented crimes. They have no criminal records. None. You are doing the MAGA propaganda. That's you. You are doing that right there. To be like, hey, by the way, you're scaring people, okay? For some reason, she was talking about Chinese gulags. I'm just going to totally try and poison the well, ruin the waters by making you distracted with this thing. But hey, she's just trying to scare everybody. And the gall to say that I am scaring undocumented people and not ICE with 1,200 person daily quotas who are targeting workplaces where hundreds of non-criminals are being swept up daily is truly beneath you. Say less. Trump wants to hold up 30,000 detained migrants at Guantanamo Bay. It's 1,800 a day quoted now. So obviously pretty upsetting. More people started obviously calling out Cenk and being like, what the ever-loving fuck, especially because, like, listen to this too.
I know that Francesca Fiorentini is currently attacking you about this as if Donald Trump is unique. He's novel compared to past presidents, certainly a special kind of evil that we've never seen before. In her mind, these are the gulags that she was warning about. But in fact, this has been a long-standing practice. You can be against that practice, but Donald Trump isn't doing anything new here.
Yeah, so I'm going to address it. I think that.
Are you doing all concentration camps matter? Is that what's happening here? All concentration camps matter? Yeah, all bad. What's wrong with calling them out? Maybe it's kind of fucked up to look at the concentration camps that are currently being organized for the mass deportation of migrants, half of whom don't have any criminal records, who are just being rounded up and sent to Guantanamo Bay for torture. Calling that out's a good thing, actually. It sounds pretty fucking horrifying that that's taking place. It's not a call out if you suddenly be like, oh, you want to act as if no one's ever done this before, as if it's the first time that this has ever happened, as if this is a unique evil. This is the same justification that white supremacists do to talk about how the North Atlantic slave trade wasn't that bad, actually. You'll always hear this weird pushback where it's like, well, I don't know if you know this, but this was not the first time that slavery was done from one category to another by human beings. Yeah, that's right. White people weren't the only group of people who did slavery. So, checkmate. All right. All right. Well, shouldn't the lesson here be that all slavery is horrible and that we should actually talk about it and that we should actually describe about the unique evil where capitalism was combined with an industrial scale degree of slavery under the North Atlantic slave trade, and that it was uniquely horrifying in the concepts of its sheer scale, profitability, industrialization, international cooperation, the trade routes that had to be developed to facilitate it all. Like this was done on a scale that had never been done before in human history, to a degree of cruelty that had never been exacted upon this degree of people in human history. That deserves discussion. I think. I don't think that one invalidates the other. Like, yeah, it was bad when groups of people with white skin were being enslaved by, say, the Persian Empire. That doesn't mean that in any case slavery good, though. Like, like I don't understand how that's ever a justification for any of this. And then Emma Vigeland said, "Gotta love the performative piousness, a polymarket populist coming from an ally movement and partner, Fran, because she posted Cenk's own words coming from his mouth. Go back to your roots, ranking celebrity camel toes, get your clicks that way, and let the rest of us oppose fascism." No notes. 10 out of 10. Good job. Cenk. Translation: I'm desperate to be noticed. The strategy I've chosen is unbearable self-righteousness. I will prove to everyone that I am the most pure, and I can yell Nazi, Nazi, Nazi at the other side loudest. Please, look at me. Please, please. I like how just someone's like, your strategy is to mock the people who built TyT over the years. Wow, how cool. I know. There she was, just minding her own business. Jesus, the crashing out in real time. And I like, the other thing is I don't think they recognize or realize it. This is why a lot of it is actually kind of funny. I did this thing. You'll never believe it, but I took a statement that Cenk made and I edited it. So I want to show you all something. It's a neat little trick. We have to talk to the other side instead of just calling them Nazi or racist. The far left. You're strawmanning. We're not doing that. Then what's the problem? FL, you're whitewashing them when you talk to them. How? FL, by not calling them white supremacists. And if you do a little editing, here's what it looks like. Me. Anna Kasparian jumps in the fold. I remember Emma telling me verbatim, I never have to work a day in my life if I don't want to, because of how wealthy her family is. Your mom threw a nice little fundraiser for Senator Gillibrand in 2019. Do I have that right? I get why you're so attached to the party that fucked over the working class. Oh, sorry, fucked over the working class over and over again. Sorry, I didn't know this was a tweet long. Sorry, we got to do it, all right? This is for, I know, the mucho texto, and it goes well beyond the limits of what any human being should be saying out loud publicly to others, but here we are. So, I don't really expect her to understand what it's like to live in a neighborhood that's been overrun with criminals due to the policy she preaches in the name of gaining social capital. That's what created poverty. 'Twas not capitalism that did the crime. No, was the virtue signaling of the left, of the max left. You did this. You created the criminals and the crime, Emma. You allowed them to overrun the city with the Porsies. Now the Porsies walk around and they look at me and they're like, give me basic human dignity. And I'm like, ew. And then I try to burn them with my words. Fran did a hatchet job on Cenk. Even though he was kind enough to waste his time going on her show in the name of openness and understanding. Always so condescending, by the way. You know, the king and queen of the digital left. We created the left. We made all of you. All of you. They have used the same strategy on myself, on Emma Vigeland, on everyone, on Fran as well. They always do this kind of like, we made you. No, motherfuckers, we made you. This is a collaborative and collective process. Have you not realized how every single person who is disgusted by or leaves TyT or talks shit about TyT, they all at some point or another contributed to TyT. I can only speak for myself. It was unpaid, all right? I gave you my own time where I had already made a name for myself. I wasn't brought onto the power panel on TyT because I was just a nobody and they wanted to just platform every regular person they come across. I had made a name for myself as one of the biggest streamers and political commentators from Canada. And so it was like, all right, let's get Lance on. He's going to say some silly things, do voices, whatever. We'll get him on. He's entertaining. Some people seem to like him. Lance is on the power panel, along with other people who exact same thing. They are commentators. They are political whatevers. Some people seem to like them. Some people find them funny. Some people want to watch them. Let's get a power panel of people. We're all on a show. We do a show together, and then we give you our commentary, and that's that. We weren't sitting there asking for money. I was getting stuff in exchange. I was being exposed to a bigger audience at the time, but at the time there was people on TyT who were now seeing me for the first time, getting exposed to like my own brand of political comedy, satire, whatever you want to call it, and so it was a mutual working relationship. I was never sitting there like, TyT, I gave you a gift of my presence. I made you. I created you. Now you spit in all our faces. But this is what they're doing to every person who is criticizing their takes. It's not even criticizing like, hey, by the way, Anna, I know that you are the king and queen of the left, and that you invented the digital left, and you invented mass media, and you invented the idea of there even being leftist political commentary on the internet. That's you, all you. You did all of that. Without you, there would be no such thing as politics. You invented politics. Good for you. Oh, you get gold star. No one's doing that shit. It's still just like, hey, by the way, this take is abhorrent. At a time right now when people are fucking livid, afraid, scared, terrifying, when the people, by the way, for the last couple years, you profited off talking for, advocating on the behalf of, I'm talking about LGBTQ plus people. People who are within the LGBTQ plus right now are demonstrably, and I think justifiably, terrified of what they are seeing coming out of Trump's administration and this march towards fascism. So every single time you did a monetized video where you were like, hey, here's an easy dunk. This person is saying things that are scientifically demonstrably false. I'm going to get on there and be like, yeah, you know what? It seems to be really popular right now to say trans rights are human rights. So I'm going to make a video on it. But as soon as the going gets remotely tough, or I want to make more money in an opposite direction, I'm going to reverse my position on all of that shit. I reversed my position. I don't care about trans rights. I care about birthing people. You cannot refer to us as birthing people anymore. The Polymarket Studios doesn't want that anymore. Well, that shit is fucking gross. It's gross. Like, civil rights for the groups of which you are advocating on the behalf of, they don't get to do that. They don't have the privilege to suddenly be like, oh, okay, the tides are turning. Guess I'll turn with them. Because that tide is that I don't want you to exist. That's where the MAGA tide is. That's what they're advocating for. So when you downplay that shit and you're just like, I would have a beer with them. I think we agree with 90% of the same ideas. I would have a beer with them. One of those ideas is eradicating transgenderism from society. They've said that out loud. They are doing that in policy. In policy implementation right now, they're trying to silence scientists who publish journals of academic literature by taking out words like trans, transgender, gender, non-binary. They're trying to erase them from existing, both in literature and then afterwards in action. That's fucked up. Now is the time to speak out against that. Now is the time to do shit about that. Now is the time to hit the streets and be like, no, fuck Nazis. We're not going to let Nazis return or take over government or take over society. They are the worst form of human. And Emma, you should probably be open about the Harris campaign's ad buy on the Majority Report too. Maybe that's why you were cheering so hard for a woman who shooed away any left-wing activism, who wanted to ask legitimate questions about her foreign policy in the Middle East. What? Wait, what? What the what? Okay, why are you tweeting at 12 p.m.? 12 p.m. my time. Well, I guess LA would be, they still live in LA? Okay, so you're still tweeting at midnight. This was probably at 12:30, unless it was right afterwards, but we're seeing you tweeting really late at night before you go to bed, dropping truth bombs, in big quotation marks there, about how apparently the Majority Report was running Harris campaign ads. This would be the easiest thing to prove or disprove, wouldn't it? You have but to show a single time Sam Cedar or Emma Vigland during the course of the American election at any point went, hey, it's time for my favorite sponsor, CBD. CBD brought to you by the Harris Waltz campaign. Like, if that's the ad, if that's the ad read, if that happened, okay, show it to the class. Very, very, and in lieu of that, this is the weirdest lie ever to make up. And I guess they just don't care, right? Because I've said this before, MAGA doesn't care. You do not have to be truthful with MAGA. You do not have to be based in reality. You don't have to be based in fact. You get to say whatever the fuck you want. And the only real thing that pushes up against you is Mark Bankston, is lawyers who are willing to represent people who have been wronged. Which, again, another plug, if any of you missed it, I interviewed Mark Bankston, the lawyer who successfully sued Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, and Alex Jones for filth. Dragged them for filth. And you know what he said and what the key takeaway from that is? If you happen to be LGBTQ+, if you're a public figure, if you're a politician, if you're an internet personality, whatever, if you have been wronged by media pundits, if media pundits have come up to you as a private citizen, do you happen to be a student at a school and they've falsely smeared you as a groomer, as a pedophile? Get litigious. Get very litigious. You will find lawyers who can represent you for free. It will cost you nothing, but you can take them down. They do not have a right to knowingly and willingly, with malice, accuse you of being a groomer or a pedophile when they have lots of money and massive social media platforms. You can go after that money and go do it. Get litigious as fuck. Contact local lawyers in your area and find out who wants to represent you for free. The lawyers are going to pay themselves back on the amount of winnings. They're going to be incentivized under good old-fashioned capitalism to make as much money as they can and get as much money for you as they can. And you should. You are owed. You should be compensated for all of these assholes who have effectively been slandering you, calling you groomers and pedophiles when you are not those things, trying to ruin your reputation, trying to make you unemployable, trying to get you fired from your jobs. Guess what? Go after them. Go after every single one of them. Go after Higher Right Check. Go after Libs of TikTok. Go after Tim Pool again. Go after Steven Crowder again. Go after all of them. They all have fuck tons of money and they all don't care because the only thing that is going to hold them accountable is you. Until it's not going, like, if you can hurt their bottom line, if you can bankrupt them, if you can get them to a point where Tim Pool has to think twice, where he has to sit there and be like, if I bring on yet another person who says that this one teacher is a pedophile groomer and how people should commit acts of violence towards them, if I get this person on and they say that and then I get sued again, I could lose a couple $1 million. I'm not going to do it. It's just not, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to just do that just for the whatever. I won't do it. Get litigious. So Sam Cedar says, this is 100% unmitigated, absolute lie. Let's make a polymarket bet on it. Gamble on how much the Nazis will win in the next election in Germany. Isn't that awesome? Polymarket Studios is so neat. So interesting that this exists now for us to be able to place money upon. YouTube, thank you for the $10 dono. Incredibly generous of you. So yeah, this is a lie. I know it's a lie because it's an easy fucking verifiable lie that obviously the majority report was not running ads for. I mean, if there is one, show me, chat. Blow my mind. Please present them. Matt says, you may be wondering why you don't remember seeing a Harris ad on our show. That's because we hit it. Play this backwards and you can hear Kamala is Brat every 45 seconds. How Harris campaign told us to place the ads. All right, we have evidence here, everybody. It's happening. Emma's coming clean.
And then you know that cute little tuneless song the characters sing? Play it backwards.
We're trapped! Loop is a madman, help us, save us! Loop is a madman, help us, save us!
A cry for help.
Whoa.
We're trapped! Loop is a madman, help us, save us! Loop is a madman, help us, save us!
A cry for help.
So. You've literally complained on air about how much money he makes just playing video games. The jealousy is palpable. Anna says, I made a joke once about how I'd like to just play video games and make millions, and these morons took it literally. I would rather scrub toilets than be Hassan. He's glued to a computer for 8 hours a day, placating an audience I know for a fact he hates. Maybe don't open up to family about things when you plan on trashing them later, Has. So we now have, and this is the depths to which Anna has sunk. We now have made up, completely made up family tea. This is how desperate she's gotten. And make no mistake, I have seen this happen to every single public figure who goes down the TERF pipeline without exception. How do you get people who at one point were comedic geniuses, say like John Cleese or Glinner, Graham Linehan, people who are legends like J.K. Rowling, to doing full-blown Holocaust denial. How do you get there? How does anyone go down that road? It's the TERF pipeline. Because you immediately have to start believing in a world in order to justify your beliefs that is completely unscientific. You have to reject scientific discovery itself and you know, the entire process. Because like, well, I mean, if science lied to us about that, what else have they lied to us? Maybe there are more than free states that matter and shit like that. When you go down it long enough, you're eventually going to have to start making shit up to try and justify your beliefs. Trump's not as bad as you think. Okay, well, he's not actually doing these things because he hates minorities. Okay, well, he's not actually doing these things because he hates black people. Okay, well, he may be blaming black people for a plane crash that was caused by white people, but it's not because he hates black people. It's because of DEI and these policies. Okay, well, fine. He does have these camps that he's going to be making to round up the people to put them into, but they're not concentration. Like, you just keep on going down and down. And then eventually, you just start making shit up. Like in the case of like, by the way, Emma, why don't you admit to everybody that you ran Harris Waltz campaign ads on the Majority Report? It's like, oh, okay, well, that's a lofty claim, one that is certainly demonstratable, right? Like you could, like, okay, if I said something like this to all of you, Anna Kasparian used to say the N-word a lot. She used to say a lot of the N-word. We're talking like, you know, Quentin Tarantino levels of N-wordery. That used to be Anna Kasparian. She used to say the N-word so many times, so much so that if you go on the internet, you can find compilation clips of Anna Kasparian saying the N-word a fuck ton. That is just, I'm sorry, a demonstrable matter of fact. Now, if I just said that out loud and it wasn't true, and there wasn't actually that combination of clips that you can watch right now by going on the internet and looking up the words Anna Kasparian N-word, well, then I would be full of shit, right? Like that would just be a weird thing to make up and say out of nowhere, especially with nothing to back it up. That would be a very odd thing to do. Why would anyone do that? Why would anyone lie like that? And in this case, that's what she's doing. Where it's just like, oh, by the way, Emma, thanks for running those Harris Waltz campaigns, you corporate Democratic shill. That never happened. Oh yeah? Well, maybe you shouldn't have told me in secrecy about how much you hate all of your fans, how much you hate your chat, how much you hate every aspect of your life, and how much you feel miserable because have you not, like, to the people saying that Hassan Piker is a slave to his chat, you have never seen his show. A vast bulk of his show is just ripping into people in his own chat. That's where a lot of the comedy comes from. He'll find someone chirping him in his chat, and then all of a sudden, he'll drag them for filth. And it's fun, and it's funny, and that's like part of the appeal of the show. It's not him being like, all right, chat, whatever you want, whatever you say. What do I have to be today? What do I have to become for you, chat? Whatever you want. I know my life is a prison. Trapped in a prison of my own design. The horror of being rich, famous, and beloved, and sexually desired by everyone. No, woe is me, the millions of dollars that I made again, doing the exact thing I love every day and being loved for it. How could this have happened? No! Hassan is a slave to his audience. I've never seen a man more terrified of the people who watch his streams. I would never be jealous of that. Please don't print in the newspapers that I'm mad. This shit is so sad, but funny. And funny and important at a time now when we need laughter, all right? The world is scary. Elon Musk is just ramping up the whole fucking barreling the entire planet towards Nazism and fascism. And now we have a whole bunch of useful idiots or collaborators. That's up to them. You get to choose in your heart of hearts what you want to be, but the end effect will be the same as long as you downplay the atrocities and crimes of the Trump administration while they are barreling towards all of this fucking fascistic shit. Well, hey, yeah, no one's ever going to forget that. But the fact that y'all are crashing out in real time at the same thing, so profoundly embarrassing. Like, honestly, the degrees of which I wouldn't feel comfortable telling close friends some of these things. Let alone, like, you would have to torture elements of this out of me. you're just giving it away for the world to see every morning. I am not jealous of someone who everybody loves and is rich and famous and handsome. I'm not jealous of them. I just think that they're miserable. And then this happened. If everything couldn't have gotten any more fuckeried, we have Cenk versus none other than the wholesome Canadian himself, David fucking Dole. It finally happened. It finally got so bad that Cenk and David have battled each other in the marketplace of ideas. And I never thought I'd see it, but here it is for all of you for the first time, everyone. A complete and utter perfect crash out. Cenk, me. We have to talk to the other side instead of just calling them Nazi or racist. The far left, you're straw manning. We're not doing that. Me. Then what's the problem? The far left, you're whitewashing them when you talk to them. Me. How? The far left, by not calling them white supremacists. Me. Clever as I am. So we're not allowed to call the guy you buddied up with that is currently seizing the federal treasury, who did a Nazi salute during inauguration, that led Nazis back onto social media sites that he bought, that's supporting the AfD in Germany, a Nazi. You're allowed to do anything you like. It's a free country. You know you're just doing that to make yourself feel better. It isn't bringing anyone to our side. It's actually driving them away. You're the one upset at me because I'm trying to take a rational strategy. David Dole. Bending over backwards to appeal to Nazis while having unhinged vitriol for the left sure is a strategy. You're still calling them Nazis. I thought you were the smarter ones, David. I guess I was wrong. MAGA is not destroying the Democratic Party and ruining any chance to pass our priorities. The radical left is, with lunatic positions, like crime doesn't exist. And David's right by saying, complete straw man. Please show me a video from anyone, myself, Majority Report, Fran, whoever, saying crime doesn't exist. You're just making things up. The left is also very clear about their hatred for the Democratic Party, and you know that. The argument I'm simply making is, why is your vitriol for the left so clear and consistent? Well, you go over to the top to appeal to people like Charlie Kirk and Elon Musk. You pretending as if the radical left hosts were just minding their business when we, out of nowhere, attacked those poor innocent folks is the biggest load of bullshit. That's why you line like this is weird and disappointing. They attacked us with vicious lies. It keeps getting worse. That is simply not the case. Olay went on your show to discuss her perspective as an activist and attorney, and you immediately made it an adversarial interview. Anna, to her credit, was trying to keep it civil. And that was months after attacking on powerless, as in not in positions of power, left-wing activists, trans activists, and otherwise. They weren't doing any activism in a way that you thought was correct. I get it, David. You also want clicks. Here, everybody, look at how the self-righteous and morally pure David is. He also hates all rational strategies. Give them some clicks. Olay was arguing for abolishing prisons. Is there a dumber position? Olayemi, that sucks. Being pulled back into this out of nowhere. Once again. By the way, if you were, and you have but to watch it, because again, this is one of the reasons why Cenk is so cowardly and Anna are so cowardly, you can go see for yourselves. You all have eyes, you have ears, you can go check it out. You can listen to all of these people and enjoy their content and suddenly be like, oh, yeah, they never said that. They never said any of these things. Have you watched the Olay versus Cenk and Anna debate? Of course, because she's very educated on the topic, was very, very good at eloquating, especially with a fuck ton of patience. Holy shit, does that woman have patience for two people who are not operating in good faith, who every other answer were like, so you think it's okay to virtue signal about the criminals getting out on the streets, so you want the rapists to rape people, whoa, so it's okay. Like, no. Once again, if we go to it, like, at its root, if you say, look at Angela Davis, prison abolition, if you look at the literature on this topic, it says very specifically that the concept is, do we as a society, collectively, want there to be more or less people in prison? If the answer is you want there to be less people in prison, then we have to look at the ways in which we can engage in making that a possibility. Not, do we want to punish people for doing the crime? Do we want them to get restitution? Do we want the justice? Do we want the fire and brimstone? Do we want the biblical punishment and the fucking the calluses to grow and the boils and the raining of the blood and all that kind of shit? Or do you want us to have less people in jail? If you want less people in jail, less criminals in society, I do too. And if that's the case, then let's work towards that. As of right now, under the current system, the rapists get away with the rape. Overwhelmingly, they are not taken to trial. They are not taken to justice. They are not taken and put into prison. Rape kits get unattended to. There are very, very, very small conviction rates for, say, sexual assault in Britain. 1 in 100 of the cases actually goes forward and all the way to a trial and gets a conviction. That's 1% of all. That's bad. That's really, really bad. That's the system operating as is. So yeah, we should want to change that system. Well, then you are virtue signaling because you want the rapists to rule the world. No. Did not say that. Did not say anything that you just suggested I did. Same thing is happening right here, by the way. We're getting this back and forth between Cenk and David in real time, where David very calmly is stating facts. That's not true. That's inaccurate. We've never said that. No person on the left has ever denied that crime exists. Why would they? That is like a delusion to the point of cartoonishness that no public figure would ever have on any political ideology. And maybe that weird woman who had her 15 minutes of fame for basically doing the whole I took acid and now I can appropriate all cultures. You know, that maybe she believes in that. She's like, yeah, no, crime's not real. Trees are real. We need tree currency. Yeah, that shit. I'm not talking about crimes. You mean crimes? No, not crimes. She just seems like if you were to distill the worst elements of Burning Man into a human, like the worst attributes of what Burning Man is. Not the lofty goals, not the whole we should be able to take out everything we take in, we should escape society, have our own commune and society that works. None of that. I'm talking about the worst things where the worst people in society, basically white, rich tech bros, go to a place to do a bunch of drugs and to try and have sex with minors and then escape and then get back to the real world and pretend like they were not doing untold and unimaginable evil to decompress from their unimaginable evil and go back to doing evil and just repeat on systems. Like, this is how I can justify doing some Nazi shit all the time, is doing Burning Man. So she was that distilled into a personality who's trying to sell music and be everything is Gaia. I can absorb your culture, shit. It was Grimes. No, it wasn't Grimes. Grimes is a figment of your imagination. Bro, looking at TyT, I think you're the one that need clicks. Damn, you got David Dole, the friendliest of all Canadians, to get mad. Now we're actually just throwing barbs. I'm just doing fine covering news and politics. This won't be on my channel. You're not as important as you once were. Great, then fuck off. Also, why is every left-wing channel doing videos about us? 'Cause it's funny. All right, it's funny, and I want to laugh, and I don't want to do an endless amount of videos on fucking war crimes. I all day, every day, for at least an hour a day, we're talking about how fucked up the world is, how fucked up things are in Palestine, in the Congo, in Syria, in Afghanistan. That's a significant part of what we have to talk about, or even domestically here in Canada, as there is Indigenous genocide, or there is the continuation of all these systems that perpetuate racism and discrimination, and it sucks. All right. So to see people fall from grace this hard while trying to grift to the other side, that's supremely funny. And also, y'all are not on the left. You have used up all the currency that you raised for years as being the home of progressives. And then we made all these leftist commentators. No, you absorbed a bunch of people into your company that you could exploit because you saw them doing good work elsewhere. Every single one of them was making it on their own. Every single one of them was doing their own work in another capacity on the internet. And you brought them into the fold because, hey, by the way, is it cool if you started doing video content for us, Benjamin Dixon? Yeah, that's totally cool. We'll give you a percentage of the ad revenue that you make from Facebook. Okay, we're not going to tell you this, but we're going to take your videos and upload them to YouTube and not pay you any of the revenue from that. That doesn't seem very progressive. Yep, well, it's happening. Hey, by the way, you know how we have a bunch of employees because we got a lot of money? Maybe say $20 million in seed funding from some kind of Democratic operatives. Let's not think too much about that, but hey, all those employees, you can't unionize. How are y'all gonna get up and the internet and become the home of progressives and talk about how it's really shitty that people don't have workers' rights and how the right wing are always fighting against workers and unions and trying to make them look bad, but you guys are gonna fight up against unionization? Something is really fucked up there. Should also be pretty telling that a lot of the people who are exiting the company rapidly are people who are also in vulnerable communities lots of trans people, non-binary people, and now black people who are like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a contributor to TyT because it's very, very fucked up. Something's going on there. Again, no one is saying that. You always make these claims that left-wing channels are calling you a Nazi and never produce the evidence. I don't think you're grifting. I think you've made a horrible mistake thinking that you can appeal to a cult members when there's a mass exodus of liberals from MSNBC that could be attempting to move left. I think he's grifting, but I think what's happening here, it's very clear. They basically have wanted to, for a long time, be able to justify the decline in their power reporting, their ability to grow on the internet. They had maxed that out, and they realized they maxed that out while at the same time didn't fundamentally believe in a lot of the tenets that they were espousing. You were both trying to appeal to a left-wing audience while at the same time in your heart despising having to constantly fight your own audience on topics that you are decidedly right-wing on. Think about it. Think about prison abolition. Think about prison justice or prison reform. Think about the idea of how to treat poverty, how to treat people who are unhoused, how to treat drug addiction. All of that, immigrants, they are very right-wing on. Right-wing. They align exactly with the Republican Party or the extremist members of the Democratic Party on those topics. And so for them, they're consistently having to do this thing where it's like, okay, why is the left always calling us out? Why is the left always saying that they have a problem with this segment? Where all we said is there may be gang members coming from Venezuela over into America, taking over people's homes, and they may be doing super Venezuelan stuff, and white people are getting extinct. Why is everyone upset about this segment? Why are you all calling us names? Why are you mad at our 50th propaganda segment of the fucking week? Every other week it's another propaganda segment. Meanwhile, it's super easy for them to get all these dunks on right-wing weirdos because right-wing weirdos aren't based in reality. They don't tell their audiences the truth. They lie openly to their audiences. So yeah, it's very easy to say, so here's a clip of someone saying this. It is factually incorrect. We are now going to correct them. You can't do that in the other direction.